if I were going to start at a new location now, knowing what I know now and the potential of cash flow and how important it is, I would be doing Atlas advertising 2 weeks before I open the office.
Good morning, Dr. PR. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you, Carrie?
Doing great. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me this morning. We're so excited that you're coming back to the Atlas family. And do you have a few minutes for me just to ask you some questions?
Certainly.
Perfect.
All the time you need.
Perfect. How long have you been in practice?
I've been in practice 45 years as of last month.
And in those 45 years, how many brick and mortar buildings have you been in?
Whoa.
Making you think.
2, 3, 4. This is my fifth.
Your fifth. And how long have you been in your current building?
29 years.
So the majority of your practice has been in your most recent location.
Yes, but I think about 15 years ago, I doubled the size of the office. So it was an expansion.
Okay. Have you always been in the same area?
Yes.
And you're in upstate South Carolina, correct?
Yes.
Wonderful. So I'm going to make you think back 45 years, but I want you to think back to your first. Oh, one more question I just thought about. Have you always worked for yourself, or have you ever worked for another chiropractor?
Always solo practice. I always work for myself.
Always for yourself. So I want you to think back 45 years ago. What month did you start your practice? Do you remember?
February the 23rd, 1976.
Okay. So I want you to think back to February 23rd, 1976. By the way, that was before I was born. And I want you to tell me about the equipment that you had in your office that first day you opened.
Ooh, I had a Zenith Hilo, and I had a 1946 Fisher X-ray machine.
A 1946.
That's what I started with.
Okay. Did you feel like that first day when you had your first, do you remember your first patient?
Oh, absolutely.
Who was your first patient?
Well, she's not with us anymore. Her name was Bobby Addis.
Bobby Addis. And when Bobby came into your practice, were you nervous?
Well, yes. I have to share this. I took an X-ray and went to develop it, and I didn't have any film in the cassette, so I fudged. I said, it didn't turn out the way I wanted. I said, let's do a retake there, and so retook the X-ray. Oh, yeah, I was nervous.
Okay, and you should be. I mean, it's your first day. You don't want to mess up. So when you started, did you start in your hometown, or was this a new area for you?
New area for me.
So you didn't know anybody. How did you market your practice in 1976?
Put a notice in the paper that we were opening. That was it.
Okay, so you did paper print, the first one. Okay, were you like new young chiropractor in town? I'm going to change your life, or was it your
basically, Johnson Chiropractic opening on this date, and the phone number. That was pretty much it.
Did you have a CA in your office, or was it just you?
My wife worked for me in the beginning, and then of course the first child was on the way. So when baby came, then I hired my first CA.
Okay. All right. Okay. So we're talking about your first practice. You have an adjusting table, and you have an X-ray machine. So after your first patient comes in, and you're gonna do your report of findings. I'm not sure you even called it your report of findings in 1976, but
No.
you're gonna give them your feedback.
Yeah.
How did you explain to your patients in the beginning where their problem areas were and how you were going to offer corrective care? How did that look in 1976?
Oh God, basic. You put the X-ray up on a view box. We had pencil markings on it. Didn't even have a normal to compare to, and it was bare bones, to say the least.
And do you think your area, with being in upstate South Carolina, do you think, because if I remember in our conversations correctly, there weren't a lot of chiropractors in the area.
There were 3 of us in the county then.
Do you think people were open to chiropractic care, or was it something completely new to the area?
Okay, yeah, that's hard to say. They were open to it because, we had people coming in. We started out, first year was relatively slow. Second year, bumped the print advertising a little more because I could afford it. And the numbers took off the second year. So we went from seeing, 12, 15 patients a day. That second year, I think we maxed out at 80, 82 patients in a day.
So that second year you were established and you were.
Yeah, and I had moved, from where I was to a location up on Main Street, so a little more visibility. Borrowed a spring-loaded adjusting table from my dad, who was a chiropractor. So that gave me 2 adjusting rooms. So, I thought I was up and flying then.
So that was going to be my next question. How did you get into chiropractic?
My dad was a chiropractor.
Okay. Did you grow up just knowing in the depths of your soul you wanted to be a chiropractor, or was it pushed on you?
It wasn't pushed on me. I have to say there was a strong influence there. Back in the 50s and 60s, growing up in a chiropractic family, that's all you taught, and you talked it, you lived it. The people that my dad associated with were other chiropractors. Didn't know anything else really, so it was a path that was, I guess, grooved in from day one.
And for the listeners to know, your dad's chiropractic practice, where was it located?
Ware Shoals, South Carolina.
More specifically, in relationship to where you grew up.
Oh, 63 miles from here.
63 miles. And it was also served, his practice was the front part of your house, right?
Oh no, he had a freestanding clinic.
Wasn't there, towards the end, wasn't there a chiropractic practice in the front of the house? Do I remember that correctly?
No.
No, I don't know why.
As he was winding down, he did have a room with an adjusting table in it. So, on his days that he was closed, he'd have patients come to the house.
Come to the house. I remember you telling me about an adjusting table in the house.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if that was the practice in the house or not. So the second year, your business really took off and you did more print ad. So now we're going to fast forward to 2018, 2019.
Okay.
Tell me about the equipment that you're using in your office currently.
Okay. I have two adjusting rooms, treatment rooms. I have Zenith high-lows, and I also have Sigma instrument, computer-assisted percussion adjusting instruments. When I started with that 20 years ago, it was called Pro Adjuster. Not sure if they use that name now, but anyway, use those strong, it's a strong part of the practice. So I do a combination of computer-assisted percussion adjustment with manual.
And then you still do x-rays in-house, correct?
Well, yeah, but now it's digital.
It's digital.
Big difference.
And then you also do laser therapy in your practice?
We do class 4 laser, use Sumis medical laser. This is the second generation of their equipment that I've used. I started out with what they had was the, oh God, how quickly we forget.
Putting you on the spot.
Oh God, I lost it. Yeah, of course, they're gone. So, now it's Sumis medical laser. I have 2 of those.
What's the back part of your practice like? The back room of your practice. That's where you have your muscle stim and heat.
Yeah, well, we have a therapy suite. We have, we can handle, 12 people on therapy at a time, which, very seldom do we hit that, especially this last year with COVID. We do virtual waiting room. Our patients call us when they get to the parking lot, and they wait in their car till we call them, take them straight into the adjusting room, so they're not congregating in the waiting room. And we have partitions in the therapy suite, so we can partition them.
So I just thought of this. In 1976, and I'm going to take you back and forth from the 70s to current time. How long did you spend on a first adjustment with a patient?
Oh God.
You can even bump it up to the 80s if you want to.
Okay. First visit, the patient, between the staff and myself, we're going to spend a half hour, 45 minutes with them. Mine is 15 to 20 minutes of that. Second visit, when we do our report of findings and lay out a care plan, I'll spend 10 to 15 minutes with them because, most of it's digital. The X-ray analysis that we do, I use posture ray, so the line analysis does most of the talking for me, so they can see their problem right away, and it has a normal X-ray and their X-ray, so there's a comparison. I'll spend probably 10 minutes, and then the staff will come in and go over the finance part of it for 5 to 10 minutes. After the second visit, third on, we book on our treating hours, the first 3 hours of the morning, we book 10 an hour. So, 6 minutes of a slot, if you want to call it that. The adjustment, really, the time that I spend adjusting patients now is no different from 1976. The advice I got from the older chiropractors that were established that had busy practices, they said, treat them like you got 10 people in the waiting room. Don't sit and talk about the weather. Don't talk about their fishing trip, and keep it focused on what their problem is and what you're doing for them. So from day one, I've done that. I always thought that I would have a busy practice, and so I geared it from the first day toward that.
Be prepared for that. At your peak, and I know that your practice has probably had peaks and valleys. At your peak, what would a best week look like? Like when you were maxing yourself out, what did that best week look like, patient count wise?
Insanity.
Insanity.
Well, for me, and for the area, and for what we're doing now. But then the busiest I ever had was 130 patients in a day. Started a half hour early. Instead of a 2-hour lunch, you took 15 minutes for lunch, and then you worked till 6:30, 7 o'clock that night. It's doable. I don't recommend it. It's hell on the body after 20, 30 years.
Years of adjusting.
Yeah. Now, volume, okay, tomorrow I've got 51 patients scheduled. We're a little soft from before Thanksgiving. We were seeing 55 to 65 patients 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which is all I work now.
Okay. So let's talk about Atlas and how you got involved with Atlas.
Okay.
When you first started with Atlas, how did you hear about us? How did you get that relationship started?
Well, it was Facebook, digital, your digital marketing. And what brought it about was after I had developed a spondylolisthesis L4 and couldn't walk in the morning. So I knew I was facing, spinal fusion surgery. So I knew I was going to have to hire someone, and I didn't want to pay them out of my cash. So we had to bump the numbers a little bit. So I looked into digital, and we started digital marketing the week the new chiropractor started. And he and I worked together for a month before I had surgery. So the numbers jumped nicely. A lot of prospects. And one of the things you have to understand with marketing like this, it's, they're funneling you patients. There's a difference in one that comes in from an incentive, so to speak, and one that's a word of mouth referral from someone they work with or a family member. So you're going to go through a few more that aren't going to follow through and be patients. But still, with that said, the numbers were good. As a matter of fact, they were so good, I had to hire someone remotely to manage the prospects that they were sending me.
And that's how I became a part of Atlas. I worked with you. You gave me a call. I think this was pre-COVID. This was right before, I think I started for you at the end of January. Yeah. And so, there's the first week, Atlas hadn't come out with their AI system yet. So we had a spreadsheet. I called people with the way the program worked. The program did the initial touch outs. And if someone was interested, I would then call them and try to book appointments. Why did you feel the need to reach out and get someone to work for you and not handle it in-house? Was it volume? Was it learning a new system? What was the reason you didn't have your staff in-house handle that?
Well, I didn't want to add another staff member at that time, with knowing that I was going to be out of the office at least 2 months, which was how long I wound up being out of the office. So we did Atlas for a month, maybe 6 weeks, I think. Then of course the gentleman that was working with us, it was more than what he could practically handle. So we froze it. And then let's say I was out March and April. May, when I came back to the office, the numbers were still so good that it kept the two of us busy. We were both pretty much happy. You know, we were each seeing 30 some patients a day. And, you know, just coming back in from back surgery, I was happy with that. He was relieved that I was back. So through the year, it pretty well carried us. As a matter of fact, last year, we closed down in March for a week and a half for a potential positive. Well, we're waiting for a COVID test to come back for one of the staff members. So, you know, the mindset at the time was to close. And then I was down in September and out for 3 weeks with COVID myself. And with that said, those 4.5 weeks that we were closed because of this, I still had the best year last year that I've had in 20 years. So,
you know, I've talked to so many chiropractors, and, you know, whether they market with Atlas or they don't, what we're hearing is 2020 was the year of the chiropractors. I mean, you know, it was a good year. And from what I know about chiropractic and what I've gotten from the doctors that we work with, I think the reason why chiropractic was so big this year is when people Googled, what can I do to keep my whole body healthy? How can I combat COVID? How can I, you know, have whole body health? Chiropractic is, you know, as an aligned spine is a healthy life, you know, and that's been kind of our mantra for 2020. You know, if you're well aligned, you're going to be healthier. Are you going to be able to combat every, you know, COVID, the flu, whatever comes your way? Not necessarily, but is your body going to be in a better position to help fight it?
Yeah, well, and also, you know, when people come to see us with their issues, they're not sitting in a waiting room with sick people. So I think during this last year, I can see where that would have been a big factor.
So you and I have been talking. We're hoping to bring you back onto the Atlas family when you get back from your vacation in 2 weeks.
Yep.
And we've been talking about bringing in the AI element into your practice to where all you have to do is have open slots on your calendar. We'll go as far to book them. Do you have any reservations about that? Are you nervous about the prospect of being completely hands off with the scheduling? Are you excited about it? Kind of what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, not nervous at all. Excited about it because I've heard you talk about it. The thing I'm nervous about is the numbers you're going to throw my way. That's my hesitation in having, you know, ads running the first week of April when I get back from vacation. I'm at this point, like I said, I just started my 46th year. I'll be 68. It's interesting for me. When I enrolled in Palmer College in 1971, my class was the last class that you could enroll without prerequisites. So I went straight into chiropractic school at 18. I was 21 when I graduated.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's not done anymore. And if I had it to do over again, I was too young. God bless the people who came to see me those first 2 or 3 years. And what's interesting is, from that, having said that, I still have some of those folks as patients. And there's 2 of those people who came to me the first month that I was open that I have treated 4 generations in those 2 families. So that's rewarding. It's kind of like, you know, it's touching. But at this point, if I'm, you know, when I move back in with Atlas, when I get back from vacation, I'll be looking for 2 chiropractors. If I hire 1 chiropractor with the numbers that we'll do marketing, one just, it won't handle it. It's a different model now for the young folks. So my plan that I'm looking at, ideally, I think I'd like to hire a husband-wife team that's looking for mountains, lakes, and streams to live near. Perfect place for that.
Perfect place.
In the upstate of South Carolina. But I think the market with the practice and the volume that we're doing right now, it's going to take 2 chiropractors for me to step away. And so that's my mindset. I think I'm getting close to being ready to dial it down. There's a world out there to see, and I want to go see a little more of it.
And we want to help you get to that goal and get those patients in the door. I know, because I process the referrals, I know you've told other doctors about us.
Yes.
And so why did you feel comfortable telling other doctors about Atlas? What was it about Atlas that you found comfort in giving that referral?
Oh, experience, return on investment. It's a good return. If I were going to start a new practice right now, and we have a young gentleman that's going to be starting up in the county in the next month or so. They're doing his build out on his practice now, and I look at him and him talk as we talk about him getting started, and he's not pinching pennies so much, but managing his money. And as I look at this, if I were going to start at a new location now, knowing what I know now, and the potential of cash flow and how important it is, and cash flow from the beginning, I would be doing Atlas advertising 2 weeks before I open the office. I would have 8 new patients a day scheduled Monday through Friday for the first 2 to 3 weeks. And then I'd be treating on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and just seeing my new patients on Tuesdays and Thursdays, maybe even Saturday if I'm just getting started. And I would schedule me, 8 new patients on Tuesday, 8 new patients on Thursday after that. And you think about it, 16, that's 64 potential new patients a month. And you're up and the practice is screaming. You should be looking for an associate, by the 3rd month that you're in practice. That potential is there. But again, I've 45 years experience, and I know what spending money to enhance your practice and grow your practice, how important that is. Is it an expense? Yes, but the 2 expenses now I can't imagine not having, especially if I was starting out, would be the Atlas digital marketing. And the other one would be a good web page and Google ads, because, it used to be when I started, yellow page ads, which were for us at the time were ridiculously expensive for what they returned, but at the same time you had to be there. Didn't even, it's been so long since I've done a yellow page ad, I had forgotten about them. And that's, the paradigm shift has been total. We don't even get our phone books anymore. Who has landlines anymore? So Atlas Digital, a good web page with Google ads, those 2 things hand in hand are necessities. If you're not doing that, you're just spending too much time waiting for people to come in. The going door to door and shaking hands, and that's so yesterday. With what it costs to be in practice, you've got to pump numbers. It's a numbers game. Whether it's this, whether it's fans down at Clemson University watching a football game on Saturday afternoon, or backsides on the pews in church. It's a numbers game, and it's got to be out of the gate. Do it quick.
Do it quick. And we are so glad that you saw the value of the return of investment, and that you see the value of the marketing. And I know you and I were talking at one point, and I was curious where you landed in Google Maps, because we're constantly looking on ways to evolve as a marketing company. And I looked you up when I was in the upstate, chiropractors near me, and you're already number 1. So you're already the number 1 chiropractor in Google search in your area. So it would be foolish of you to invest right now, because you're already at the top. That's something you're going to need to watch. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. And I kind of want to end with a story. There's highs and lows to every career. And I'm not by any means putting nails in your coffin, but you've alluded to the fact that you are going to be ending your chiropractic career in the near future. So is there a moment that you can think of when you were disappointed, or you had an opportunity as a chiropractor that you wish you could have taken advantage of? Any story of where you missed it by this much, or you had this epic event?
Oh, yeah. My first roommate from Palmer wound up coming to visit us here in the upstate of South Carolina and wound up moving here. So he set his practice up down in Clemson. And he calls me one evening, and the Eagles were coming to play in Death Valley. 60,000 tickets being sold, I think it was. And he says, I got a call. He said, the Eagles want a chiropractor backstage for an adjustment before they go on stage. And I said, you lucky guy, you. I said, how'd you rate that? And he says, I'm there in Clemson. And he says, but I got a question. He said, how much do I charge them? I said, what? I said, you're going to work on the Eagles? And I said, you're concerned about what you charge them? I said, you don't. I said, you have a professional photographer come in and take your picture, adjusting each one of them, and then your picture with your arm around each one of them, and you have them professionally framed, and those hang in your waiting room. Now, I have to say, that was the day I was green with envy of my old classmate and roommate. Would love to have had that one.
And his practice was less than 20 miles away, wasn't it?
Oh, 7 miles away. Yeah.
So just dumb luck of the Yellow Page ads on that one.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. PR, I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your honesty and having this conversation with me. It's so interesting to learn about how much practices have changed and how models have changed. And we're excited to have you back on the Atlas family, and we can't wait for you to enjoy your vacation and get back started with us. And we look forward to talking with you really soon.
Carrie, enjoyed visiting with you. You have a wonderful day.
You too.